The aliens had always believed that humans were curious but limited. They thought Earth was filled with dreamers who reached too high, who aimed for the stars without truly understanding them. To the aliens, humans were clever children, always, playing with tools, always experimenting, but never ready for the great truths of the galaxy. That was why the warp technology had been hidden. The warp engine was the crown jewel of interstellar travel, a machine that bent space itself and allowed ships to leap from one star to another in moments. It was more than a device. It was a key to power, to empire, to dominance. The aliens knew that if humans ever found it, their restless ambition would push them into the farthest corners of the galaxy. So the aliens buried the technology deep inside a hidden vault, locked behind layers of security, hidden on a distant world, far from Earth. The aliens told themselves they were protecting humanity, but in truth, they were afraid. For years, the vault slept in silence, its smooth metallic walls holding the secrets of faster-than-light travel. The Alien Council believed it was safe. They believed that no human would ever come close to finding it, but humans are different. One day, a human expedition stumbled across ruins on a forgotten planet. The place was strange, filled with massive stone towers and half-buried machinery that hummed faintly, as if alive. The ruins whispered of a lost age, and at the center of it all stood a door unlike anything they had ever seen. Smooth black metal, glowing red symbols, and a feeling, an energy, that seemed to reach into the bones of every explorer who stood before it. The leader of the human expedition, Captain Reyes, stepped closer. He felt the air vibrating softly around the door. "This isn't natural," he said, his voice low. "This is hiding something." The scientists with him examined the strange symbols, tracing them with their hands, scanning with their devices. The symbols made no sense, but the energy behind the door was undeniable. It pulsed, steady, alive. Unknown to the humans, alien observers were watching. Hidden ships circled the planet, their crews confident. The aliens whispered among themselves, laughing softly. "They will never open it," one said. "They cannot even read the language," said another. "It will take them centuries to even understand the first layer." But the humans did not walk away. Days turned into nights as the explorers worked. They set up camps around the ruins, bringing more equipment, more people. They cut into the stone towers, searching for power sources. They mapped the strange energy signals, trying to understand the patterns. The door never moved, never opened, but the humans refused to stop. Their stubbornness was almost frightening. One evening, as the red sun of the alien world sank below the horizon, the scientists found something. A hidden mechanism, small but vital, hidden in the earth just beneath the door. They unearthed it carefully, brushing away dust that had lain there for thousands of years. It was a panel, glowing faintly, with symbols that matched those on the vault door. The aliens watching grew uneasy. "They found the control system?" one of them whispered. "That is impossible. They do not know our language." But the humans didn't need to understand the language. They looked at the patterns, the shapes, the repeating designs. They compared it to mathematics, to logic, to the systems they already knew. Captain Reyes stood back, watching his team. "It's a code," one of the engineers finally said. "Not words, instructions. Look here. The patterns are like circuits. If we connect them, it should unlock something." The aliens watching shifted nervously. How could these humans see so quickly what took their own people centuries to master? The humans worked through the night. Sparks flew. Machines hummed. Wires connected. They built tools out of whatever they had, modifying scanners, reshaping drills, even using parts from their own landing craft to connect into the alien system. Every mistake taught them something new. Every failure brought them one step closer. By dawn, the vault began to change. The smooth black surface trembled. The red symbols glowed brighter, pulsing faster like a heartbeat. The ground shook and a low hum filled the ruins. The humans stepped back as the door split down the middle, grinding open with the sound of thunder. A cloud of ancient dust rose into the air, and a rush of cold, stale wind spilled from the dark chamber beyond. Captain Reyes raised his handlight. Inside, the explorers saw it. The warp engine. It sat on a raised platform, massive and beautiful, its dark frame lined with glowing streams of energy. It pulsed like a living heart, casting the chamber in shifting red and gold light. Strange cables coiled around it like veins, and the air itself seemed to shimmer around its edges. The humans froze. They had never seen anything like it. It was beyond human science, beyond imagination, and yet it called to them. One of the scientists whispered, "It's alive." Another shook his head. "No, it's power. Raw, controlled power." The aliens, watching from orbit, stared in silence. Their laughter was gone. For the first time, fear crept into their voices. "They cannot touch it," one said. "They must not understand it," said another. "It took us millennia to build. They will never. They cannot." But deep down they were not so sure anymore, because the humans did not step back. They did not run. Captain Reyes turned to his team. His eyes were hard, his voice steady. "We take it apart. Every piece, every wire, every circuit. We learn it, and then we rebuild it." The vault had been hidden for thousands of years. The aliens believed it was untouchable. But now, humanity stood at its door, and for the first time in history, the secret of warp technology was in human hands. The vault stood open like a mouth to another world. Inside, the chamber glowed faintly with streams of red and gold light that poured from the strange machine at its heart. The humans stepped forward cautiously, their boots echoing on the metallic floor. Every step felt like trespassing into something forbidden, something sacred. The warp engine sat on a raised platform, silent but alive. Its surface was smooth, black as obsidian, with rivers of glowing energy running through it like veins. The humans had seen engines before, but never one like this. This machine was not built to be hidden, it was built to rule the stars. Dr. Elena Marlowe, one of the lead scientists, whispered in awe, "It's beautiful." Her voice trembled, as if she were standing before a god. Captain Reyes kept his tone steady, though even he felt the weight of the discovery pressing down on him. "No touching. Not yet. Scan everything first." The team unpacked their instruments. Scanners hummed, drones hovered into the air, and holograms flickered to life as data poured in. Strange energy readings spiked across their devices, patterns that made no sense to human science. It was as if the machine spoke in a language of stars. One of the engineers frowned at his tablet. "Captain, these readings, they shouldn't exist. It's pulling energy from nowhere, or everywhere. I don't know." Reyes studied the massive engine. If it bends space, maybe it bends rules too. Unknown to the humans, alien eyes were watching from orbit. Their cloaked ships hovered silently above the planet, monitoring every move. What they saw filled them with both disbelief and dread. "The humans are scanning it," one alien commander said. "They cannot understand," another replied firmly. But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his voice. Because the humans were not confused. They were excited. Dr. Marlowe's hands moved quickly across her screen. "Look at this," she said to her team. "The patterns, they're repeating, like waves. If we map them, we might predict the energy flow." "It's like music," another scientist muttered. "A song written in physics." The aliens watching shivered. How could humans compare their sacred warp design to something as simple as music? And yet, the comparison was frighteningly accurate. Hours passed. The humans circled the machine, studying every detail. They noticed things the aliens never thought they would. A seam hidden beneath one of the glowing panels. A series of coils that pulsed in rhythm. A faint hum that rose and fell almost like breathing. "This thing was built to be understood," said one of the engineers, "not by accident, intentionally." Captain Reyes narrowed his eyes. Or maybe it was never meant to stay hidden. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Was it possible the aliens who built it had wanted someone else to find it? Someone like humanity? At last, Dr. Marlowe took a step closer. She reached out carefully, her gloved hand brushing against the smooth surface of the machine. At her touch, the warp engine responded. The glowing veins flared brighter, casting the chamber in crimson light. The ground vibrated softly, as though the machine were waking from a long sleep. The humans gasped. The aliens in orbit nearly panicked. "They activated it," one shouted. No, it cannot be. They don't even know the control language." But the truth was clear. The warp drive was alive again, and it had responded to human hands. The chamber filled with a low, steady hum. The energy surged, and the strange alien symbols carved into the walls began to glow. The entire room came alive, pulsing in rhythm with the machine's heart. "Captain," Dr. Marlowe said, her voice shaking, It's reacting to us. It knows we're here." Reyes steadied himself, his eyes locked on the pulsing engine. "Then let's not waste time. Take it apart." The humans moved quickly. Tools came out, scanners adjusted, drones repositioned. Piece by piece, they began searching for access points. They traced wires, marked circuits, mapped every visible connection. What should have been impossible suddenly felt natural. One engineer chuckled nervously. "It's almost like it wants us to understand it." The aliens watching clenched their fists. How could humans see so much in so little time? This machine had been designed with alien minds in mind, minds trained for centuries in the deepest sciences of the galaxy. And yet these humans, with their crude tools and stubborn curiosity, were walking through its secrets as if they had built it themselves. "They will destroy it," one alien whispered. "No," said another, his voice grim. "They will rebuild it." Back inside the chamber, the humans worked without rest. Panels came loose, circuits glowed and dimmed. Holographic schematics filled the air as they mapped the machine piece by piece. Every discovery brought new excitement, new possibilities. Dr. Marlowe stared at the growing schematic in wonder. "Captain, I think we can recreate this. With our own tools." Reyes gave a small, sharp smile. "Then that's exactly what we'll do." The warp engine pulsed once more as if it had heard him, and the aliens, watching from the shadows of space, finally began to understand the truth they had feared for centuries. Hiding technology from humans was useless because humans didn't just discover. They dismantled, they learned, they rebuilt, and once they touched something, it was never out of their hands again. The night was heavy with silence. The ruins, once quiet, now throbbed with energy. The humans had rebuilt the warp drive, not perfectly, but enough to make it breathe again. The machine pulsed softly in the chamber, glowing with a new light, alien in design, yet patched with human wires, steel, and determination. It was a strange fusion, fragile yet powerful. It looked wrong. It looked impossible. And yet, it was alive. Captain Reyes stood at the center of the chamber. His crew gathered around him, their faces pale in the red glow. Some looked nervous, others excited, but all of them felt the same thing in their bones. This was history. "Final checks," Reyes ordered. His voice was calm, but his heart hammered in his chest. Dr. Marlowe scanned her screen. "Energy stable, core at full charge. It's holding, Captain." "Power lines connected to the ship," another engineer confirmed. "Systems green across." "The board," came a third voice. Reyes nodded. He looked at the engine one last time. This was no longer just alien technology. It was human now. Above the planet, the alien fleet hovered silently. Their commanders watched in disbelief, eyes wide, jaws clenched. The humans had done what should not be possible. "They cannot succeed," one alien whispered, almost praying. "They must fail. The drive is incomplete, unstable." But deep down, fear gnawed at their hearts. Because if humans had come this far, who was to say they would fail now? Inside the chamber, the crew strapped into their ship. The modified systems hummed, waiting for the impossible test. Lights flickered across the control panels as power surged from the warp drive. Reyes sat in the captain's chair. His hands gripped the armrests. His voice was steady when he gave the command. Engage. The rebuilt warp engine screamed to life. The ground shook violently as energy tore through the chamber. Sparks burst from the patched wires, flames flickered and died in the conduits, but the machine held. Outside, the ship shuddered. The stars above the planet seemed to twist, as if the universe itself was bending. A deep hum filled the air, louder and louder until it became a roar that shook every stone in the ruins. The humans braced themselves. This was the moment, failure or triumph, and then reality broke. The ship vanished in a flash of white light. The ruins fell silent. The warp drive stopped glowing, its energy drained. Dust settled in the empty chamber. The humans were gone. The aliens watching from orbit cried out. They jumped. They actually jumped. It's impossible, another shouted. That engine was broken. It was never complete. The alien commander stared at the empty space where the human ship had been. His voice was hollow. No, it wasn't complete, but they completed it. Light tore through the void. Far beyond the planet, in the cold emptiness of space, the human ship emerged. The crew gasped as stars snapped into new positions around them. The impossible had happened. They had jumped across space. Dr. Marlowe checked her readings, her hands trembling. We traveled light years. In seconds, one of the young engineers whispered, his voice shaking with awe. We built it. We actually built a warp drive. The crew stared at one another, silent, overwhelmed. They had touched the forbidden and they had conquered it. Captain Reyes leaned back in his chair. His voice was quiet but firm. Send the signal. Let Earth know. Humanity has entered the stars. In orbit above the ruined planet, the alien fleet was still in shock. The humans were gone. They had escaped, not into space, but through it. One alien turned to his commander. What do we do? If they can rebuild our most advanced technology, then nothing is safe. The commander's face was pale. We feared this day. We told ourselves they were too young, too reckless, but we were wrong. He closed his eyes. The humans are not behind us, they are not even beside us, they are already ahead. Back on the human ship, the crew celebrated. Laughter, cheers, tears of joy filled the cabin. They had done the impossible. But Captain Reyes did not smile. He stared at the stars, knowing what their victory meant. The galaxy would not welcome them with open arms. The galaxy would fear them, and fear was more dangerous than war. Still, Reyes whispered to himself, let them fear. Humanity was born to reach beyond. The warp drive pulsed once more, alive with human ingenuity. And in that moment, the future of the galaxy shifted forever. The warp jump had lasted only seconds, but its effect would echo across the galaxy for centuries. The human ship drifted silently in the darkness of a new star system. Its crew sat in stunned silence, their instruments blinking with steady green lights. They had done it. They had broken the chains of distance. Dr. Marlowe leaned back in her seat, her voice trembling. Captain, we traveled farther in an instant than humanity has in all of history. The young engineer beside her laughed, half in disbelief, half in joy. We're not just explorers anymore. We're something else, Captain Reyes said. Nothing. He stared out the viewport at the unfamiliar stars. His jaw was set, his thoughts heavy. We've crossed a line, he murmured. And the galaxy will know it. Far away in the halls of the Alien Council, messages began to arrive. One after another, reports flashed across their terminals. The humans have activated the vault. The warp drive has been rebuilt. The humans have jumped. The council chamber filled with shocked voices. Leaders of ancient empires, rulers of powerful fleets, spoke with fear. This is impossible. Warp knowledge is beyond them. They cannot even decipher our languages. How can they touch the stars? If they did it once, they can do it again. The eldest among them, A being whose species had ruled for millennia raised a trembling hand. His voice was quiet but carried across the chamber. You do not understand. The humans did not learn warp travel. They bent it to their will. They rebuilt it in their own way. That is worse. Much worse. Silence fell. Every alien in the chamber felt the same chill. Meanwhile, news spread like fire. Across distant worlds, whispers began. Humans have rebuilt forbidden technology. Humans can leap between stars. Humans cannot be stopped. On planets ruled by warlike empires, generals tightened their grips on power. On peaceful colonies, traders and scientists spoke nervously in quiet corners. Fear spread faster than truth, and with fear came tension. Ships were recalled. Armies were mobilized. The galaxy shifted, not because humans had discovered warp travel, but because humans had stolen it, rebuilt it, and proved it worked. Back aboard the human ship, the crew was celebrating their return jump. They had crossed the stars, then leapt back to the ruined planet to rejoin their camp. The alien vault lay silent now, its purpose fulfilled. The young cadets cheered and sang. The engineers hugged one another, some crying from exhaustion. But Captain Reyes walked alone into the chamber where the rebuilt drive still glowed faintly. Dr. Marlowe followed him, her face serious. You're not celebrating, she said softly. Reyes shook his head. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of something dangerous. The galaxy won't see this as a triumph. They'll see it as a threat. Marlowe nodded, slowly. And they're not wrong. If we can take apart warp tech in days. She trailed off. Reyes finished the thought. Then nothing they hide will ever be safe from us. The two stood in silence, watching the glow of the engine. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, unstoppable. High above, the alien fleet broke their silence at last. Their commander addressed his crew, his voice heavy with dread. Mark this day. The day humanity joined the stars, the day fear began. One of his officers swallowed hard. Should we strike them now before they spread? The commander closed his eyes. He remembered the sight of the humans dismantling, learning, rebuilding with reckless confidence. He remembered their laughter when the drive worked. He remembered their eyes, the hunger, the fire. No, he said finally. We cannot stop them. We can only prepare. His words spread through the alien fleet like poison. Prepare. Back on Earth, when the message finally reached home, humanity erupted in celebration. People filled the streets. Leaders declared a new age. For the first time in history, the stars were not dreams, they were destinations. But hidden behind the cheers was a quiet truth. The galaxy was watching, and not all of it was cheering. Weeks later, on a distant alien world, a counselor whispered. To his aide, the humans rebuilt warp technology in minutes. What happens when they find our weapons, our secrets, our gods? The aide trembled. Then the galaxy will no longer belong to us. The counselor nodded grimly. No, it will belong to them. On the human ship, as preparations began for their return to Earth, Captain Reyes recorded his final log for the mission. His voice was calm, but each word carried weight. Humanity has taken its first step into a larger galaxy. We found what was hidden. We rebuilt what was forbidden. And we proved that nothing is beyond our reach. The stars are no longer safe from us. Let the galaxy remember this. Humans don't just adapt. We conquer the impossible. He ended the log, and for a moment, silence filled the cabin. Then the warp drive pulsed once more, as if in agreement. Above, the stars waited, and across the galaxy, fear spread like a shockwave. The age of humanity had begun.